They lost our one and only boy embryo.
What do you mean they lost him?
That's a good question. These are not the things that they tell you when you're signing up for IVF. And he's like, this is life-threatening. You could die. Your baby will die. You need to go have a DNC today.
They put you under, you weren't sure if you were going to wake up.
Yeah, it's messy. It's beautiful, but it's very messy.
When I saw your story, I was like, she's my hero. And now you're really my hero. I've heard hundreds of stories on this show, but this one might be the craziest. It also made me laugh and cry a lot. Time and time again, Alex Gooding was faced with an option of life or death for her and her babies. Time and time again, doctors would tell Alex that she should terminate in order to save her life. But in an amazing show of strength, courage, and sacrificial love, Alex fought for both her life and her children's lives. In this interview, you'll also hear about Alex's experience with IVF. Now, we've covered IVF on this show many times before, and we've discussed the many ethical issues with IVF, including the fact that there's over 1 million babies who are currently frozen in IVF clinics, as well as the millions of babies' lives who are discarded or destroyed via the IVF process. If you want to learn more about the ethical issues with IVF, including from the perspective of former IVF doctors, you can click the link in the description. It's crucial to note, too, that while the process of IVF is not moral, once a baby is conceived, that baby is infinitely precious and unconditionally loved by God and equal to every other baby. So we celebrate every single baby, no matter how they were conceived. If you or someone you love are ever facing an emergency medical situation regarding bioethics, so you're not sure what decision to make, I have an amazing resource for you. NCBC is an organization of trusted medical ethicists, and they run a 7 days a week, 24 hours a day hotline for anybody who's facing an emergency medical situation to call. The number for NCBC is 215-877-2660. That's 215-877-2660. Also, they have a fantastic website with great resources and guides for medical ethics and decision making. And that website is ncbcenter.org. That's ncbcenter.org. If you want to help us bring on more voices like Alex, please like this video, hit that subscribe button, make sure that you're subscribed. And also, if you're listening on podcast app, make sure you're subscribed over there and leave us a review and 5 stars. That also helps the show grow. Alex Gooding, welcome to the podcast.
Hi.
I'm so glad you're here.
I am too.
I'm going to start crying actually, just because when I first saw your story online, I think I might've started to cry because I thought, what a woman, and such love and such devotion. And it inspired me. I know people listening to you are going to be inspired and encouraged, and your yes to God and your yes to life and loving your little ones is an inspiration. So thank you for sharing that with the world through social media.
Thank you.
I'm already choking up, but we're not. This is a great start right here. Okay. All right. For people who are meeting you for the first time, give us some of your background.
Okay. So like a brief drive-by in a paragraph. I am a stay-at-home mom. I have 8 kids. I am Christian. I'm Orthodox Christian. I homeschool. I live in Arizona, and I'm very busy and happy and married, and just trying to live through the life of raising 8 kids in 120-degree heat. So
amazing.
It's pretty hot.
Yeah, Arizona gets really hot.
It's so hot. Why do we live there? I don't know.
Hey, come to California.
Yeah, it's very expensive here, so I can't do that.
I'm sorry. I dream of the day we're going to change that somehow structurally.
Nice. Yeah.
But Arizona is also gorgeous.
It is beautiful. And from like October to April, there's no better place to be. We have no snow, no hurricanes, really no earthquakes, like no tornadoes. It's great.
Occasionally a tarantula though, right?
Scorpion.
Oh, scorpion.
Yeah. So like wear shoes in the house.
That's the only thing. Okay.
Yeah.
The one downside.
Yeah, that's the one downside.
Well, we also have rattlesnakes here too, in addition to our earthquakes. Crazy. We actually saw one on the fence outside our house recently.
No. That's horrible.
It was a little scary. A little baby one too, so that when it rattles, you don't know that they're there. You can't hear their rattle because they're babies, but their venom is more poisonous than the parent rattlesnake.
Well, That's horrible. I'm very sorry for you.
We survived, obviously. We're all still alive. But so you're from Arizona. You have 8 beautiful kids. Every single one of your children, I know there's stories attached to your marriage and just where you were at in your marriage. I'm going to just go backwards, though, starting with your beautiful Chloe. She was just here in studio. This is what caught my eye originally about your content. And I thought, this is such an incredible testimony that Alex has. Tell me about pregnancy with Chloe and tell me about what happened and what the doctors were telling you.
Okay, so Chloe's extra special because with her pregnancy, I had a C-section scar ectopic, which means that she implanted in my C-section scar. So it's extremely high risk. It's a pregnancy that ACOG recommends termination, which is really sad. And so right from the get-go, 5 weeks, we knew this. And so it was like a really heavy burden our entire pregnancy, knowing that her and I were both in danger the entire pregnancy. So that's Chloe. But our whole story leading up to Chloe is what's like kind of makes Chloe so special to us, because we have 8 kids, and each one of them kind of were brought into this world not how we expected. And so to get to Chloe and to say yes to like having her and not living in this what if, because that was like the huge thing when doctors would tell me like, you should terminate because you could die. I just couldn't sit there and say, well, what if I don't? Or what if I keep her and I do die? But what if I don't keep her and I don't and I wouldn't have died? Like I could never live with myself if I had chosen not to keep her. One, that choice was never really on the table, but that's like what I would like sit in, be like, why would I kill my baby over a what if? Like I could die tomorrow. I could not, something could happen and I wouldn't be here anyway. So it's like, how come I would just choose to not have her over a what if? So that's Chloe in a quick nutshell. So can I go back?
Please do. Let's go back.
I'll give the whole story. Okay.
Yes.
So my story is really complicated in the sense that none of our children came into this world easily. When I was a kid, I was sexually abused by my dad, and I had an eating disorder after that. And my eating disorder was so bad that they told me I couldn't have kids at all. Like anorexia, was really sick, did treatment in La Jolla for when I was 15. And they were like, you can't have kids. Like you've ruined your body too much. So I didn't think I could ever have kids. My oldest is 13 and she is from a one-night adventure. And I did get pregnant when I was not supposed to. And so with Emberly, I was 20 years old, had just turned 20. I was going into my senior year of college and I ended up pregnant with her. And I faced that same choice of I could choose this path that everyone says is easier and I could get rid of her, or I could not. And I chose not to. And I was pregnant my whole senior year of college. I went for education and I had Emberly during my student teaching and took 4 weeks off of student teaching and came back so I could finish, graduate, and have a degree that I could go get a job. And getting pregnant with Emberly was a really big deal because it was my turning point. It was the moment that I was like, I'm going to stop being selfish and being in my eating disorder and not eating and drinking and doing drugs. I'm just going to stop doing that. I'm going to do it because I have this baby to take care of. So I did that and I had Emberly and she's amazing. She's 13. She's like a photocopy of me in all the ways possible. We love her. And then I ended up meeting my husband when Emberly was 9 months old. And he loved her right away. we ended up getting married. He adopted her. It's truly like such a blessing because I thought for the longest time that like nobody would love me because I had Emmy. And, I was wrong. That's not true. And I'm so grateful that like I met Matt and we got married, all this stuff. And then Matt and I tried to have a baby for 2 years. And I was so mad because I was like, I did it right this time. I got married and like have a job and like I should be able to get pregnant now. It shouldn't be this way because now I want a baby. And my husband went through like fertility testing. Turned out he had male factor infertility. Pretty mild, but he wasn't ready to do anything about it. So we didn't do anything about it. We tried a whole nother year and ended up pregnant finally. So it took 2 years. And we had our daughter, Ava. She's 9. So our first 2 girls are 4 years apart. And Ava's perfect little gooding baby. She was like the first official grandchild like that my in-laws had the experience of knowing from birth. We loved Ava and we knew that, okay, it took a really long time to get pregnant before. So as soon as my cycle returned, like I was a pro tracker anyways, after infertility stuff, we started trying immediately. We tried for a whole year and could not get pregnant. And I'm like, okay, we're going to go to a fertility center. And we went and the doctor's like, yeah, male factor infertility, all you need is an IUI. You'll be pregnant next month. Like this will be great. You'll have an April baby. Do you want an April baby? I'm like, I want any baby. Any baby is great. And he was like, great, sounds good. And so he's like, your husband will need to do a semen analysis again, just so we have, everything updated record-wise. And here's a prescription for Clomid. And like, you're good to go. Like, we'll call you and give you the go-ahead on the day that you're going to take Clomid. And at the time, like, we were like I was a baby Christian. So like that, I had zero convictions on anything. I was just like, yes, babies. Like babies are good and we should have the babies. That is the answer. We should have babies. Okay. And so the day I was supposed to take the Clomid, they called me and they're like, you cannot take that. Your husband's semen analysis is severe. You don't qualify for an IUI anymore. You have 2 options. You can do IVF or your husband can go to a urologist for 6 months and take some meds and we can come back and see how he's doing and all that. And those are your options. So we went the IVF route. We didn't know any better. We didn't have any weird convictions over it. Like at the time, it was just like, yeah, like you can't have a baby. Go do IVF. Great. So we did IVF. We had 5 embryos, 4 girls and 1 boy. And we were like, okay, we're going to do a boy and a girl so that it's equal. And then if one sticks, then we don't know. And it's like a natural pregnancy, like a spontaneous one. And we're going to like be surprised. Well, both babies stuck and we were very excited. And we thought, okay, great. We're having boy-girl twins. This is fantastic. When we were pregnant with them, we were like, Matt and I were like, we're going to have all the babies. All our babies we're going to have. Like all those embryos, we made them. There are babies. I'm like picking out names for all the babies when they're embryos, which to me felt like totally normal. I'm like, yeah, they're like babies. So we named our twins Hannah and Porter when they were 5 days old as an embryo, which is awesome. We went all the way to our anatomy scan thinking we're pregnant with a boy and a girl, Hannah and Porter. And then at 20 weeks, you're not pregnant with a boy and a girl. You're pregnant with girls. I'm like, that's wrong. No, like it's a boy and a girl. So all this drama, they lost our one and only boy embryo.
What do you mean they lost him?
That's a good question. At the time, we didn't know what that meant. We're like, what do you mean you don't know? And they're like, Well, we think we've misplaced him. Okay, these are not the things that they tell you like when you're signing up for IVF. And they're like, we can't do anything until your girls are born, and we need to do a DNA test on them to prove they're fraternal, to prove that they're not like an embryo that's split and they're identical, even though they're die-die. 30% of die-die pregnancies are identical anyways. It's a little rare in the IVF world for a 5-day embryo to do that. But so that's what we did. And then in July 2018, we had our girls, 37 weeks, perfect little babies. We did their DNA test. They were absolutely fraternal. And so then we contacted our clinic and we're like, so they are fraternal. We need to find where you've put our child. And it took about 6 months. And in December of 2018, they're like, we found him. We mislabeled him. It was actually embryo 3 when it should have been embryo 5. And like to do that, they had to thaw our last 3 embryos and retest them, this whole thing. And in that process, one of our embryos came back abnormal, which when an embryo tests normal and abnormal through, it was PGS testing. They've updated it. It's now called PGTA. It's called a mosaic embryo. So some of the cells on the outside of the embryo test normal and some test abnormal. Those babies, by the way, a lot of the time self-correct and they're totally fine. So we had apparently originally signed off on our IVF paperwork that abnormal embryos would be discarded. And so, and again, I say that because at the time, we didn't really have any strong convictions about things. Like God really used this because each step, it's almost like he took my pro-life for me, but not for you, because that used to be my stance when I was like 20. Like, I'm pro-life, but I'm not going to tell you what to do. And each step, he kind of like convicted me a little more. So keep that in mind, though, because it's going to come back up. So we end up being told, okay, we found the boy, and then you have one more. We have one more girl. And then that other one was abnormal. So we're like, okay, that's fine. We're going to transfer our boy. And we did. When our girls were 8 months old, I stopped exclusively pumping for them, transferred Porter, and he stuck. And it was amazing. And we thought like, wow, this is like such a God thing to lose your baby once, find your baby, get your baby. Like amazing. And then we lost him at 14 weeks. And losing Porter was really hard because I never thought that I would go through a miscarriage. I had a DNC and I had this OB that was so sweet because I wanted Porter's remains. And she's like, we don't do that. It's not a full baby anymore after that. And she pulled some strings. And so 3 weeks after my DNC, we were able to go get Porter from the hospital in like a biohazard bag. And she's right. Like, you can't tell what parts of him are like there, but like he's there. That's his body. And in the Orthodox Church, like you don't cremate.
You bury.
And we're in Orthodox then, but like, it's very interesting that like desire to like keep our baby was really strong. So that was 2019. And after that loss, my husband was like, I don't want any more babies. I don't want to go through this again. I don't want to lose a baby again. We didn't make any decisions because I was like, wow, you're grieving and I'm grieving. And like our girls, they were just heartbroken because we had like talked about their brother for a long time. And anyway, so 2 months later, we got pregnant on our own. And it was twins on our own, which is amazing because like, how can you have male factor infertility when the struggle is the sperm side? And then we found out they were fraternal twins. And then we found out they were boy fraternal twins. So we lost Porter, but we got 2 sweet boys. And we ended up having them in April of 2020, which was not fun because their pregnancy was very high risk. I ended up with placenta previa, where the placenta is over your cervix. And so I had multiple bleeding episodes. I landed in the hospital in the beginning of April, which everything was shut down, by the way, in April 2020. And I had 4 kids at home. And nobody was allowed to come up into the hospital. And my oldest was in the 2nd grade and was like schooling from home in our 1,000-square-foot house with my mother-in-law, like holding down the fort with 4 small kids. But we had the boys. They spent 2 weeks in the NICU. I exclusively pumped for them again because I couldn't nurse either set of our twins. And after the boys were born, Matt's like, that last embryo, you got to find somewhere for it to go. That was really hard. I was not 100% on board with that decision. At the time, I thought that's what I was supposed to do, that I was supposed to just follow what my husband said. It's probably one of the biggest regrets of my life. So I found a family. The wife had gone through breast cancer. They had like a 7-year-old, or I think it was like 7 at the time. And they had been trying, but because of chemo, she couldn't get pregnant. So we adopted out our embryo, our little girl, to her. And she had her. And she shares a birthday with Hannah and Heidi, which are our twin girls from IVF, just 3 years apart. So that happened. And in the process of that happening, we ended up getting pregnant again on our own. And we got pregnant with twins again, a boy and a girl, and we lost them at 13 weeks. And that time, the OB that I had did not work a miracle for me. And we don't have, we don't have them with us. So we lost Theo and Nora at 13 weeks. And Matt was like, we were really caught off guard getting pregnant that time. And it was like a hard thing for him to accept that we were like going through this again. And then we lost them and it was a lot. And we were like, okay, we're going to try on our own, thinking that we didn't have any embryos anyways. So we tried for 5-6 months and got pregnant again with our daughter, Grace. And then we lost Grace at 15 weeks. We lost Grace at 15 weeks. And I had a D&C scheduled for a Friday. But it was still weird COVID stuff. And so they canceled it. They were like, it's not life-threatening. Now, this is a God thing. Because, I had history of hemorrhaging during Porter's D&C, during Theonora's D&C, during our C-sections. I just was a bleeder. And so I would have never chosen to not do a D&C because for my safety, I needed that. But they canceled it. And then I went into labor and I had Grace at home that Friday, the same day that they canceled. I had her in the shower and I know on live action that you guys share pictures of babies. It's one thing to only see black and white ultrasounds. It's another thing to see pictures. It's another thing to hold your baby.
15 weeks.
15 weeks. The crazy thing is in the moment, I made Matt go get a colander from the kitchen to catch her. And when we were holding her in the shower, we both were like, oh my goodness, she has a nose. I know that sounds super duh. It's a baby. Babies have noses. But when you're holding your baby and she has fingers and toes and a nose and her mouth opened. Like that part like threw me for a loop because I'm like, could move her chin and her mouth would open. And we're standing there and we're like, wow, God really makes these beautiful babies. And then I passed out because I hemorrhaged in the shower. And I was taken by ambulance to the hospital in the middle of the night with Grace still attached by her umbilical cord while I was loaded into the ambulance. The ER that we were in, they were not very great. They didn't realize that Grace was still attached to me. And when I was like, I am hemorrhaging right here in the hallway on this gurney. And they're like, wait, why? I'm like, well, there's a baby in my lap right now. In that same colander. The colander is still in the picture. And so they rushed me back to a room and this ER doctor comes in and just rips the umbilical cord. And I'm like, what are you doing? So they keep me in the hospital. The nurses were great in L&D or postpartum, whichever room they went to. They weighed her. They gave me a box for her, put a little hat on her, all these things. It was beautiful. But they let me leave without me passing my placenta. I know. Medical stuff is crazy. Well, it took 2 weeks and me almost going septic and hemorrhaging 3 times for them to finally manually extract Grace's placenta. This is all at Christmas time, too. It was wild. But we got Grace. And we got to see her and hold her. And it was amazing. So all of that happens. And Matt is like, I really do not want to keep doing this. But then we end up pregnant again. It's wild because, like, how can you go from, like, can't get pregnant, doing IVF, and then a whole bunch of losses, and now we have all these babies. So we got pregnant with Claire. And at the time I had found out I was pregnant with Claire, the woman that adopted our embryos, that family, she texts me and she's like, Alex, the IVF clinic is trying to charge me embryo storage. I'm like, you only adopted 1 embryo. And they're like, they're saying there's another embryo in that straw. So that 1 embryo that retested abnormal was in the same straw as the embryo that was tested normal that we adopted out. Now, if you don't know, embryos, it's property, it's a very specific contract that you have. So this family had no rights to our baby. And I was like, good, because that's my baby. Except I had just found out I was pregnant. And so I told Matt, I was like 8 weeks pregnant. I was like, listen, if this baby makes it, I'm still having that baby. Like, that's my baby. And Claire
Alex,
made
I gotta ask really quick. So that originally, when you mentioned the 5 embryos through IVF, one of them they said was mosaic. Is this the same baby? Did they think that they had discarded the mosaic, but they actually didn't actually had it?
Yeah. And
so they thought
clinic, that wasn't a good clinic anyways.
But they
apparently.
were a good clinic because they failed.
Right, but they
to destroy her.
But that's why it's wild, because it's like, okay, they're clearly not efficient because they lost.
It's human error, though.
Yes, it's like, it's crazy.
It's human lives.
Yes, which is why it's crazy. This one baby is in limbo. This is March 2022.
So just so for folks listening, this is of the 5. This was the one that they said they genetically tested. It's like it's got a problem.
It was normal, but then it's not going to survive.
And so they had said, well, we're just going to discard it, aka destroy it.
Yes.
And at the time, you didn't have the conviction, like you said. You're like, okay, I guess that's the right thing to do.
Right.
So you thought this embryo was gone.
Yeah, we literally did not think that we had any more embryos. But I had gotten very close to Becca, who adopted our little girl, and we're still friends. And I'm sure she'll watch this. And so she's like talking to me, and I had sent her, I'm like, I'm pregnant. Like, I hope this baby makes it. And then she, like a week later, was like, they are trying to charge me embryo storage fee. We don't have another embryo that we adopted from you. They are saying there's 1 more embryo in that straw because they freeze embryos in 2s. So she was with our other little girl. Yeah.
So you had just given birth to Claire? Or
No, I
okay.
just got pregnant with Claire. And so I was like, well,
And this is number 7 of your
Claire,
live births.
Yes.
You've had how many in heaven at this point? 4 or 5?
4.
4.
Wow. Yeah, I know. I'm like, how many by
Super
that
mama.
point? So we went through that pregnancy. About halfway, I was flagged for placenta accreta and went to an MFM and they cleared me. They're like, no, you're fine. It's all good to go. And I was like, okay, great. I had a really amazing midwife who only does hospital births. She was a NICU NP. Like, this lady is incredible. I wanted a VBAC after 2 C-sections, which is pretty not heard of. Like, you don't typically find people to do that. And so I was able to do that. I had Claire at 37 weeks vaginally, had a VBAC, got it, no pain meds, was beautiful. She was like 6'12" at 37 weeks on the dot. Amazing. And after 30 minutes, my placenta did not come out. So we're waiting and everyone's kind of like side-eyeing. And we all start realizing, well, they were wrong. You have accreta. Like, that's not good. And so there's 2 options. You either get rushed to a D&C, like in the operating room, where they hope to clear it out that way, like through a D&C, or you can end up with a hysterectomy if you have an accreta that is not diagnosed because they're just not prepared. My midwife was amazing and went elbow deep manually retrieving my placenta. No pain meds. No pain meds. It was wonderful. I got a lot of shots in my thighs to stop hemorrhaging and other lovely, unsightly things that are not for the internet world. But they got it out eventually, and there was 0 conversation about anything. Like, hey, you had an accreta. You should be very careful deciding to ever have any more kids. Never had that conversation. But I digress, because then we had Claire. I breastfed Claire for a year, and then we started preparing to have our last baby, that embryo, okay? That embryo is in San Francisco. We live in Arizona. And I was like, I am not moving that embryo. The embryo is staying there. So no one loses this baby, okay? And I'm going to fly there, and I'm going to do the cycle at this IVF clinic. I'm going to pay the horribly obscene amount of money for my one baby that I have left. Did that.
And really quick question.
Yeah, go.
Did they say that this baby, they're still saying it's mosaic?
Yeah.
So meaning.
Oh, I had to sign paperwork.
Were they like, what are you doing?
Yes.
They're like, why would you do this?
There's paperwork that says, like, your embryo tested abnormal or mosaic, and we do not recommend ethically for you to transfer this.
Ethically.
Yeah, we do not recommend this because it's a high risk of miscarriage, and they want their numbers to be
ethically for their bottom line.
Yes, for the bottom line. They
want to just destroy this. And in their view, they're like, this is a baby we want to destroy because it is disabled or it's going to die anyways in their mind.
Exactly. So they don't want their numbers. They want to boost. It's the weird thing about IVF world for the most part is it's all, and as somebody that's gone through IVF, yeah, you are looking at clinics going like, what's your live birth rate? What's your like success rate? Because you don't want to go somewhere that's not successful, obviously. But then on the flip side, you get in my situation where they're like, we don't really want to transfer this because it's going to make our bottom line look bad because it most likely won't make it, which is not true. It's not true. Mosaic embryos often self-correct, and there are Facebook groups out there of people transferring their mosaic embryos, giving them life. There's a lot of them that they are genetically fine. So it's very interesting. So I signed this waiver. I'm doing all this flying to San Francisco.
There have been so many times when I've been looking for an OBGYN or a pediatrician or a family doctor when I wonder, is this doctor pro-life? So How do we find pro-life doctors? I am so thankful to my friends over at Presidio. They have launched prolifeproviders.com. Prolifeproviders.com is a values-based platform where you can find doctors that share your values, from everything from infertility to vaccine schedules to abortion. Don't settle when it comes to your family's health. Find the best doctors. That's prolifeproviders.com.
As you may know, porn addiction is on the rise for both women and men today. The porn industry is a billion-dollar industry preying off of vulnerable men and women. The good news is that there is a solution, and our show is proud to partner with CovenantEyes.com. CovenantEyes.com is not only something to block explicit material on your phone, your tablet, or your laptop, but CovenantEyes.com is also a community to give you strength to choose good things instead of to choose the destruction of porn. Whether you're a parent protecting your kids, a husband searching for accountability, or a wife searching for accountability, or somebody who just wants to make sure that porn doesn't make it onto your screen, CovenantEyes.com has got you covered. So you can go to CovenantEyes.com and get a free 30-day trial using the code Lila. That's CovenantEyes.com. Use the code Lila for a free 30-day trial. Start your journey to freedom today. 7 Weeks Coffee is America's pro-life coffee company on a mission to fund the pro-life movement and help moms and babies in need. What I love about this coffee is it is from the top 1 or 2% of beans in the world, and it's also mold-free, pesticide-free, ultra-low acid, and organically farmed. And this is where you and I come in. Not only can we subscribe to 7 Weeks Coffee and get the most delicious coffee delivered right to our door, we know that with every single purchase we make at 7 Weeks Coffee, they are donating a full 10% to pregnancy resource centers in need. And a huge congratulations to 7 Weeks Coffee for hitting over $1 million donated to pregnancy resource centers and moms and babies in need. Go to 7weekscoffee.com today. Subscribe and save a full 15% off your order. And when you use the code Lila, you get an additional 10% off your first order. That's a full 25% off your first order at 7weekscoffee.com, and you'll also get a free gift. Order today and help fuel the pro-life movement. I've got to ask one more quick thing before we hear this incredible story. You've used the word DNC multiple times.
Yes.
And I think there's such confusion about this. And I know people have been in your DMs about this, and I've seen it constantly. There are people who support abortion, and maybe they're well-intentioned. They're not even like trying to do a gotcha or anything. And they say, well, look, you had a DNC, therefore you had an abortion.
Yeah, no, that's very different, because my DNCs, my babies died. They were already dead. And so they needed to come out. And like, I went through I've gone both ways. So if your baby is dead already, you lost your baby. You can have your baby at home alone, or you can go and have some medical care to help you pass your baby. I've done both. I nearly died in one of those situations. So miscarriage care it's actual health care. Yes, it's very similar in the sense of the procedure and like what's happening, but your baby's already passed. And it's no less heartbreaking. Like, it's still heartbreaking. Like, it ate me up knowing that Porter was in pieces. Like, it was horrible knowing that he was in pieces, and like, how could you do that to my baby? And he was already dead. Like, it's a little, yes, same process in the sense of like what's going on, clearing your uterus out. But the big difference is your baby's already dead.
It's like the difference between someone burying someone who's alive and someone who's burying someone who's dead.
Yes.
One is a burial that virtually all of us undergo when we pass.
Yep.
The other one is a murder.
Yes.
I mean, it's horrific murder.
Story. Yeah.
There's one other thing, because I see this misinformation relentlessly, that pro-life states ban miscarriage DNCs.
No, I mean, I think ours had Arizona. Arizona is like a red purple at best, right? Like purple at best. But they have no issues with DNCs. I think because our story gets brought up sometimes on the internet, how like they canceled my DNC for Grace. And I had Grace at home, and I did hemorrhage at home, and it was an emergency. That more had to do with COVID policy, it had nothing to do with the fact that it was a DNC.
I think there's people should make sure we know this because this is the source of most information online about this right now. There is no pro-life law that prohibits DNC after miscarriage. The baby's passed. There's no issue with that. Pro-life laws are to protect living babies from being torn apart via DNC or killed via chemical abortion, whatever.
Yeah.
So that is a very crucial distinction, which is written into the laws too. If there's a doctor who is ignorant for some reason, or like people usually end up using these stories to try to push misinformation, unfortunately. So I don't want to go down that rabbit trail, but I thank you for explaining that for people, because in my view, one of the most tragic things is when these heartbreaking stories that many women undergo of losing their babies and then needing miscarriage care is conflated somehow weirdly with now we're going to support abortion on demand for living babies. It doesn't make any sense.
Jump. Like, and having walked through the miscarriage care and not receiving it in a timely manner, one, it was really a God thing. Like, I am so grateful to have had Grace at home because I would never have seen her. Like, I don't think people understand that when you lose your child in utero, the process of seeing them, it's very big in your grieving process. And if you can think like years ago when women had stillbirths and the nurses would just not even let the moms see their babies. That's hard. And so so being able to see her, it meant a lot in our grieving process. Now, it was mismanaged in the sense that the hospital really probably should not have canceled it. But it was a God thing that we got to see her. And it really solidified my conviction on pro-life. Like, every step literally was me being like, no, it matters. Like, they matter. This baby matters. And that all the way to the embryo stage. Because when that last embryo, Annie, when I knew about her, I was like, well, there is no other choice. We made her. We adopted out one of our biological children against what I wanted, right? Like, and now she's here. Are you telling me like she does not matter? She matters. She was a baby created in 2017, and she's still a baby through the whole mess that we went through with IVF. She's still there. So like, we can't not. And my husband's like, we are like at capacity. And I was pregnant, like just newly pregnant. I was like, well, we have to. Like, I have to be obedient to that conviction. I would not be able to live with myself. So January 2024, just last year, we flew to San Francisco, which is where Annie was. And this is where it's very beautiful. We got to meet our daughter. She's not our daughter. But she's our daughter in a different way. And we love her and we love her parents. Okay. It's complicated because it's messy, which is something I don't think people really like put together. It's messy. It's beautiful, but it's very messy. And we got to meet her, and she's gorgeous. And I won't say her name on here, but like, she is like 3 of our kids mushed together. And like, you know, I had seen pictures of her the whole journey up to that point. And I think she had just turned 2. And so it was like, or she was a year and a half or something. And I was like, oh my gosh, you're so cute. Like, we got breakfast with them before our scheduled transfer. So we're sitting at breakfast, meeting her, and we get a phone call from the IVF clinic. And they're like, she didn't make it. And so we lost Annie. And our stupid flight was not till like 6 p.m. And so we're stuck in San Francisco, wandering around, me crying, like being like, I like followed through. Like, I did it. I tried to do what I was supposed to do. I was supposed to make sure that like she would make it here, and she didn't. So on that walking around for hours, Matt's like, it's like, we can try again. was like, we can try again. And I was like, don't say that if you don't mean it. Because, man, we've got 7 kids and we've gone through everything. In our minds, we're like, it can't get worse. I mean, it could. We could end on a miscarriage. That felt bad to us. Like, that felt like that would be a horrible ending. But I was like, okay, you said that we can try. So we tried for 6 months and got pregnant. And got pregnant with Chloe. And I went to my first ultrasound. Now, infertility and lost moms will get this. Most of them will. When you've gone through that much stuff, you're like, I would like to see proof of life. Okay? Like, you might, and this is like annoying to some people where they're like, yeah, but there's not even a heartbeat or there's not even anything early. And I'm like, I don't care what you think. If I can see a gestational sac in my uterus, that means there's a baby in there. You can see that once your HCG is over 1,000, by the way. Okay? That's all it needs to be, 1,000. So we went 5 weeks. I went 5 weeks, 2 days. And there she was. But it looked funny. And my midwife and I were like, why is she like on the screen? You'd think like the middle of the screen, right? And she's like up here. And ultrasounds are kind of like flipped. And so we're like, why is she up here in this ultrasound? We didn't know. We were kind of like confused by it. But we're like, okay, there's a baby. We kind of saw a flicker. We're like, sweet, this is good. We have a baby. And then I drive home. And I drove 45 minutes for this midwife because in the process we had moved far away. And I was like, nobody else except you. On my drive home, she's like, hey, I talked to the OB, sent him your ultrasound. And he wants you to go to a high-risk doctor today. And I'm like, I literally just got home. Okay. And I'm telling my husband, and I'm like, they need me to go back to like a whole different office to a high-risk doctor. So I go. And they get me in, they do the ultrasound, and they won't tell me anything. Obviously, that's what they do, the ultrasound techs. And I'm like, okay. And the doctor was not in. So I talked to this doctor on a laptop in a dark room alone. And he's like, you have a C-section scar ectopic pregnancy. You will die if you continue. You need to terminate. I've already talked to the OB at the practice you're at, and he can get you in right now, today, to get rid of your baby. I'm like, no. First of all, my husband is not in the room. I said, I will not be making any decisions today. And he's like, this is life-threatening. You could die. Your baby will die. You need to go have a DNC today. I was like, thank you for your time. I'm going to go drive home. I called my priest. He was like at the symposium. He's like, I can't talk right now. And I'm like, well, I need help. I'm like, pray for me. Pray for me. And then I call my husband. I'm crying the whole ride home. And I'm like, this cannot be happening. Like, what happened to like being obedient to God and life and like nothing going wrong? Well, that's a lie. So like life is life right now. Like there's good and bad in life. And so we ended up going to 2 other doctors and they said the same thing. They're like, you need to abort this baby. And then one doctor, Matt, came to it and he was like, you need to tell your wife that you need to go through with this termination. And Matt looks at me and he's like, I think she said no. I'm like, yes. And then he's like doing the ultrasound and I was like 6.5 weeks. And he's like, the heartbeat's very low, so the baby will probably die anyways. And I was like, well, I don't like you. So I will never recommend that doctor again. And then my midwife, she also recommended terminating, which was kind of heartbreaking because she had never been that way. And then as soon as she had a heartbeat, she was like, I can't. Now I can't. And I'm like, oh, it was still a baby like 2 days ago. So it's kind of weird. Can you refer me to someone else? And so she referred me to a different doctor who's my doctor. His name is Dr. Holes in Arizona. And he is the lead Accreta specialist at the Accreta Center of Excellence in Phoenix, Arizona. He is the best of the best. He deals with Accreta patients all the time. Now you might be like, wait, I thought you had a C-section scar ectopic. Yes, a C-section scar ectopic where she implanted in my C-section scar. One of the most common consequences, comorbidities to that is placenta accreta. And so that's where the placenta embeds too deeply into your uterus. And the high mortality rate about it, the reason why it's dangerous is you can hemorrhage. And that's dangerous. You can die from hemorrhaging if it's not monitored or watched or have a really good doctor who knows what they're doing. So I met with him at 7 weeks and he's like, yeah, I mean, that is what it is. Do you want to continue the pregnancy? I was like, yes, that's why we're here. No, anything. He's just like, okay, great. I do this all the time. I'm like, awesome. So I went
Had
through.
he done a C-section
Yes.
ectopic before?
Yes.
Wow.
Which is crazy. So
Wow.
I had complications, yes, throughout my pregnancy. I had a weird abruption at one point, which is ironic because abruption is where the placenta pulls away. And so there was a part where my placenta should have been embedded, but it somehow abrupted. And so I had both things. I had a short cervix, all this stuff. I ended up having a bleed in January of 2025 at 30 weeks. I got admitted to the hospital, magnesium, the whole thing, and I stayed for 8 days. We did an MRI, which is pretty common in an Accreta pregnancy, is they'll do an MRI to really get a full picture of your uterus where the placenta is front and back. And so my placenta, say this is the bottom, my placenta went up both sides. So I had percreta, which is the most severe form of placenta accreta, where my bladder was, which is where the scar was, where the C-section scar is. And then I had previa, so it was over the opening, which is, that makes sense, right? If baby implants really low. And then I also had increta, which is
middle of the road on the accreta spectrum, posteriorly, which is what we found out during, or anteriorly, sorry, during the MRI.
And you had ectopic.
Yeah. So
all four things.
Yes. And people like to be like, you're lying. And I remember being like, and here's my paperwork.
Just for fun.
For funsies. I also had gestational diabetes that pregnant. I'm like, look, they're all listed here. And it says my name on it.
And when you say people were saying you were lying.
On the internet, there were just
because you're sharing some of your journey.
So I didn't share it right away because it was really hard. People think that because I didn't share it right away, I must have made it up for social media clout or something. No, I was terrified that I was going to die my whole first trimester because, and I guess I'm kind of skipping around a bit on Chloe, but one of the risks for a C-section scar ectopic is placenta accreta. Your placenta starts to form by 12 weeks. So their ACOG's recommendation is termination before 8 weeks because your placenta starts to grow and develop after that point. Okay? So the risk, if you terminate after 8 weeks, you could still end up with a hysterectomy, which is kind of scary because in my mind as a recurrent loss mom, I'm like, great. If I miscarry, I could lose my uterus in the process and just be okay, that's the end. So the first trimester was very scary for me because I'm like, please don't die. And then also, I don't want to die. And also, if you die, I don't want to lose my uterus in the process being first trimester.
If Chloe dies.
Yeah.
And then so it's you both could die. Chloe could just die. Chloe could die and you use your uterus or any variation of the
exactly.
Other. So what can you explain for folks as best you can? I know obviously I'm sure the doctors were telling you all of the doctor things, but what is the reason that you can die from a ectopic cesarean section pregnancy?
So the main thing is hemorrhaging. And this is actually why the mortality rate is so high, because of the patients that have undiagnosed accreta. Like my Claire pregnancy was undiagnosed, and why it was so scary because no one was prepared. Accreta patients that have accreta specialists, those are maternal fetal medicine doctors that know what they're doing. They have an entire team of specialists in the OR. You're not in a regular OR. You're in the main OR. It's huge, by the way. And it's kind of scary. And they have like an oncologist there. They have like a whole bunch of different people that are making sure you don't die at delivery, because there is no increased risk during the pregnancy while you're pregnant. You're hemorrhaging. The risk is at delivery. Does that make sense?
It makes sense, but it also just makes me so sad for the state of American healthcare, where if mom needs extra care, baby needs extra care to ensure that both can live, then we should just do an abortion because it's easier and quicker, and there's no risk.
Okay, and so
that's the go-to.
That is the go-to, but here's the thing, and like there's a lot of people on the internet that want to hinge on that of like abortion is healthcare in this scenario that I lived through, and here's the thing, it's not. And the only way that it's going to get better for people that have high-risk pregnancies are for them to have actual doctors who are specialized in the area and are willing to do full care and take you to a live birth. And the only way to do that is to not terminate. Like think about 22-weekers, 22-week babies, okay? They used to just let them die. Now they don't. Now you have actual medical devices. They have breathing tubes to intubate them that are small enough. How do you think they got there? By actually trying. Okay? And so it's the same thing with my circumstance. ACOG says that C-section scar ectopics should be terminated. And they say that because it's easier to kill a baby early than to try to save a baby and the mom later. But here's the thing. The more we have doctors that are willing to do it, that have specialized care around this, the more women are going to survive it. And then you can't be like, no one's going to live through that. Like you're doing a self-assisted suicide. It's like, okay, well, you're crazy. Like it's not suicide.
And people tell you that.
Oh, yes. That I am not pro-life because I'm going to basically commit suicide having Chloe, and that it's not fair to my other kids and all this stuff. But the point that I feel like goes over their head is it can only get better and get better healthcare the more doctors are willing to learn how to take care of patients like this. C-section rates in America are so high. C-section scar ectopic pregnancies are on the rise. Like there are more. I'm in a Facebook group where people get added daily and they're like, I have a C-section scar ectopic. What do I do? And I'm like typing in there saying, go find an accreta center of excellence. They're not in every city and they're not in every state. My doctor, Dr. Holes, has done over 300 accreta pregnancies and has lost 0 humans. 0 of them. Okay, that's amazing. My type of pregnancy, a C-section scar ectopic, he has done them before. And when I was admitted at 30 weeks, because I had to bleed and everything, he was like, I just delivered two other C-section scar ectopic pregnancies, and they didn't need hysterectomies, which I was like, oh my gosh, maybe I'm the third. Maybe like I will get lucky too for that. But the only difference for me was he followed my care from the beginning. And he was like, you are our first that we have followed from the beginning to the end. We're learning so much of what a C-section scar ectopic looks like from 5 weeks all the way to when Chloe's born at 33 weeks. And he's like, it's invaluable. And it's like, those are the doctors you want. You want doctors that are willing to be like, hey, let's advance our medical care. We live in America. We should have great medical care and not just like easy access, like people like to compare like Canada or whatever. No, we want good medical care that is going to provide us every opportunity to live, including our babies. So my pregnancy had some complications, just like we all predicted. I did have placenta accreta spectrum. I went into my delivery at 33 weeks and 1 day, and I was terrified. I thought I would die just because when you're faced with death, you think maybe like, I am so secure in myself or in my faith. Like, I can do it. Like, I'm going to be pulled through, or I have no regrets in my life. And it's like, okay, but like when you're faced with it, you kind of are like, did I parent my kids well? Did I do this? Did I tell my husband that I loved him one more time? Like, is it going to be okay? It was very terrifying. I cried the second my husband couldn't go back in the double doors to the main OR. I cried the whole time. They almost put me out during it because my right side of my body would not numb from the spinal. I know. And I'm like, okay, well, you guys got to get this together because I need to see my baby. Like, I need to see my baby before I could die. And I saw Chloe and she cried and it was beautiful. And they let me kiss her and, you know, they whisked her off to the NICU and my husband followed her there. And then they waited. And the thing was, because Dr. Holes had just delivered 2 C-section scar ectopic pregnancies and ended up no hysterectomy, he was like, Alex, I want to wait and see. Because sometimes the placenta, even with accreta, will still detach. And then the fight is to get the bleeding under control. But if you have a specialist, they already have things in place. Like I had an artery embolized. So like cutting down excessive bleeding. Okay. So
can I ask a really quick question before you share this next part? For people listening, so were they saying you might die right now?
Yeah.
Because in delivery, Chloe was alive. Chloe's
alive.
thriving. She was 33 weeks. She was ready to come out. She would need to have some time in NICU, but she was fine. And the issue wasn't that her being a C-section scar ectopic would be that she was necessarily going to die. The fear would be upon delivery, you might die. Can you explain for people why, when you went in for operation, first of all, why they picked 33 weeks to deliver?
Okay, yeah. And
then second of all, why you were like literally preparing to possibly die? What would have gone wrong or what would have happened that would have meant that you would have died?
Right. Okay. So the 33-week thing. So ACOG actually for accretas, they have a window of delivery. It's between 34 and 0 and 35 and 6. Okay. That is your window of what ACOG thinks is an appropriate time to deliver an accreta pregnancy. It's just like a sweet spot for vascularity to get the placenta out. And ACOG recommendation is a hysterectomy. It just is in accretas. So I had a bleed at 30 weeks and my MFM, he, again, amazing, Dr. Holes, absolutely amazing. He's like, after all these deliveries, I have learned that once you have a bleed, you will have another. And when that is the case, I move our window from 32 and 0 to 33 and 6. And I try to deliver you as soon as possible. Well, he had another delivery when I was 32 and 1. And so he's like, so I can't do that day. So we're doing the next like OR day. Because in an emergency situation, I would have been delivered anyways. But if you know anything about hospitals and medical fields, it's like you got to get a lot of people lined up to do what you need to do. So he has like a very specific day that he gets the main OR, that he has his team always ready. So anytime he can schedule, he will schedule it with them. Unless there's an emergency, then yes, he would get all the people together anyways. So our plan was 33-1. That was his next OR day. And that is when we were going to do it. And he was like, but if you have a second one, we're done.
ASAP.
Yeah. Like that day, that second. Yeah. And so he is an amazing doctor. And he was like, you may go home on bed rest after you have not bled in the hospital for 5 days. So it took about 8 days total for me after my major bleed. Did the MRI there. I stopped bleeding, and he's like, go home on bed rest for 12 days. Don't do anything dumb, and just sit, be with your kids, be with your husband, and then you're going to come back at 33-1, and we're going to do this. And so that's what I did. I did not do anything. I didn't go to church. I didn't homeschool. I was just like, I'm going to sit here and watch my house be destroyed by 7 children. Okay. It's fine. It was fine. But it was a lot. And so I went into that delivery at 33-1. So that's the why of that date. So why was I scared? Well, it's still, when you have a hysterectomy, not when you're pregnant, it's a very minor surgery. It's like a in and out in the same day kind of thing. It's laparoscopic. And the reason why is because your uterus is all constricted and small, and it's very easy for them to do that, right? But when you're doing it at delivery, it is extremely vascular. Your uterus is stretched so much that you could just bleed instantly, lose all your blood. So they try to be so prepared. You sign waivers to get blood products. They have everything on hand to be prepared for the worst.
And it had to be this way because this was an ectopic baby.
Yep.
She was in that C-section scar.
Exactly.
She was already connected where you're not ideally connected, so that the risk of hemorrhage and bleeding was already sky high. And in order to remove her, they would probably have to remove the entire uterus.
Yes. And so the plan, because my doctor's amazing, he was like, listen, if your placenta can detach, because it was percreta in the front, that's where it's all the way through your uterus. And it was increta in the back, meaning it's just really, really deep in the muscle. He was like, maybe it will detach and we can sew up, close up the hole from your uterus. And basically, you would keep your uterus, but we would say no more babies, very dangerous. Okay. He was like, sometimes we can do that. Or it could just peel off and be great.
The uterus would peel off.
The placenta. The placenta can peel off. And so he went into it being like, we're going to see what happens.
So there were 2 things going on for you. Number one, it was you could bleed out at any minute, especially if they make any kind of mistake or anything goes wrong, you could die.
Yeah.
The second issue was that you wanted to keep your uterus.
Yes.
If possible. You did not want a hysterectomy.
Not because this is maybe a hard thing for some people to hear. It wasn't because I wanted to go on having 1 million more babies, because Matt and I actually were really content with just having 1 more baby after everything we had gone through. Losing your a body part, it's really traumatic mentally. I know it's hard because it's internal, but there's something about losing a piece of yourself against your will that you feel empty. It's very confusing to be I lost a part of myself. And so the idea of a hysterectomy, even though I didn't want to necessarily have any more babies, I wasn't opposed to it either, but it was not my choice. And my husband would be like, just consent to the hysterectomy because it's easier during the surgery. And I was like, no, I just need to give it a chance. Maybe God will just be like, okay, you did your part. Keep your uterus. And that's it.
And one other clarification for people listening, and then we're going to get to this amazing next part of the story, is that, and I think this is also, a lot of people just does not compute this aspect. I know you're Orthodox Christian. I'm Catholic Christian. We are aligned on this largely. And I think this is the natural law too. But this idea that if you're going to have a super high risk pregnancy, right? you are not required to continue to have babies. Like there's not a teaching like you have to have babies if you're Catholic or Orthodox, if you have a super high risk pregnancy. But there is the teaching against contraception. And so you employ periodic abstinence, natural family planning. And you also don't do hysterectomies or vasectomies as a form of like permanent contraception either for the purpose of avoiding children. Now you could remove your uterus for a immediate health issue or even cancer. You have a uterine cancer, so
ovarian cancer.
So you remove those parts not to avoid future children. This is really important. The intention of the why is this like, medicinal or surgical intervention happening, but because that body part is deeply diseased or otherwise life-threatening or harmful. And I think that, again, the mindset, what is the operating principle? The operating principle is that life is, sex is designed for procreative and unitive. When you intentionally separate the sexual act by doing contraception, or you take out a part of your body as a form of contraception, right? Both go against the natural law. Yeah. And I think when people understand, that's the end goal. So all of this other like guidelines for how to do this is for that end goal. I think it helps for people to click. But when you just hear like a piece of it, you're like, what does that mean? Why? Because the modern mindset is just do whatever you want to do, basically.
Right. No, and like
do what you want to do.
Our priest, he's amazing. And he really was like, obviously, if the doctor says do not die, you get the hysterectomy. That's what you consent to, so you don't die. Like, the goal is not to die. The goal is to stay, like, and this was a very hard part, and I haven't really shared too much of this publicly, but I guess I am now. When we kind of walked into this pregnancy, it was like a thing. It was, I don't know how to word it, but it was like knowing that you can die. And knowing that you're willing to die for life, it's a very weird thing to sit in. And so I really struggled actually with the decision on a hysterectomy or not. Like I originally was like, no, try to save it. Like just 'cause I thought that was the right answer. And I thought that if I had chosen a hysterectomy, I would be playing some sort of God role. Like, okay, well, I went through all of this and now I'm going to have a hysterectomy and I can't have any more kids. And it was my choice, where that's not how like those medical decisions happen. And so like my priest was praying for me and I would pray the same thing my whole pregnancy. Was like, make it so obvious, Lord. Like make it be, we're at the table here. You're open. Make it so obvious that this is to save your life. This has nothing to do with me playing God and like taking my uterus away, because that was a big thing with people would be like, so you are going to control your fertility by having a hysterectomy. I'm like, no, I'm going to not die by having medical treatment, by I'm losing the word losing, like I'm losing it. Like this is not because I'm like, yeah, like take my uterus while you're in there.
It's not like, take my uterus so I don't have babies.
Yes,
it's like take my uterus because it's a life threatening me right now because it's
I won't make it off this table, and I won't get to see Chloe, and I won't get to do all these things if that medical
there's no
need.
Issue. That's it. So do you think it was almost like a scrupulosity in the back of your mind?
Yeah,
maybe?
it was. I had it almost was like I had to undo this very weird like narrative that I had like built in the back of my head, that if I consented to a hysterectomy right away, that made me not trusting God or something. And that's just not the case. That's not how medical, like the Catholic Church and the Orthodox Church, you are allowed to have life-saving care.
Yes.
I'm sorry to break it to some people. You actually can, and nobody is mad at you. If you're going to die and the doctor says, this is what you need to not die, no priest, no layman, they're not going to come in and be like, you can't do it. You can't save your life, Lila. Like, you can't do that. No, they're going to be like, you have my blessing. Go
But this is where
Go save your life.
This is where it's so pernicious, right, Alex? Is that the medical field is telling women about that when it's not true.
Yeah.
On things that are not true.
Exactly.
And that's like where it's so confusing
twisted
for people. Because they're like, you're going to die. You're going to die. The baby's going to die. You're going to die. And so it's like, oh, we'll just abort. Now, they're using illicit means, abort, which is direct intentional killing of the baby, never acceptable. No. Ever. Mm-mm. So that's one thing. But then in addition, everyone's saying to everyone, you're just going to die all the time. Or else. And they don't have they're not enough of the specialist, enough of the questions haven't been asked, the conversation hasn't been had to understand, oh, these are the risks. Mm-hmm. This is how we mitigate the risk. And when it comes to the point of it would be a morally acceptable act to remove that uterus in a life-threatening situation, whether it's cancer or bleeding or whatever it is in this case, then it's totally, there's no issue here.
There should be, it's wild that people like are mad about that. In not just my case, but like many people's case, that life-saving care, like actual legit life-saving care is like demonized. We made it out. Like, I was scared of dying after Chloe was out. Okay. So Chloe was born and I'm like, I need to hear her cry. And I heard her cry and then I cried and then they showed me her real quick and she needed to go to the NICU. And then I was like, that was the easy part. You know, like I did my sacrifice in the sense of like persevering through my emotional part of the pregnancy to get her here. And then I was like, good, she's alive. At least one of us are making it out of here, right? Like, how pro-life is that? It's pro-life enough that the goal was for me as a mom, because sacrifice as a mother starts in the womb. It really does. Like, it starts as soon as you conceive. Think of nausea. We're already sacrificing. And so for me, I'm like, good, I did my job in the sense of like, my goal was to get her out alive. It would be really not great if she died and I died. So at least here I am strapped down, being like, good, the baby made it. Now give my husband a kiss and I'm going to pray that I'm not going to die. Matt, go follow Chloe. And he did. And I laid there for 25 minutes praying, Lord, please just spare me. And like, if you feel like it, just spare the uterus too, so I can just be like, whew, we made it out, like scot-free or something. And then after 25 minutes, my doctor was like, it's just not all coming out, Alex. It was like part of it came off and the rest is starting to dimple. It's where the like uterus starts to contract, but the placenta dimples in. So think of like a dimple on your cheek. During the contraction, the placenta's dimpling, which means it's stuck there. It's not going to let go. He's like, I've got to do it. Do I have your consent? I said, yep. And he's like, all right, go ahead and put her out. Put me out. And I just remember being like, I really hope I wake up from this. And I did. 4 hours later, I woke up in post-op, not with my baby and not with my husband. Completely flat, because when they embolize your arteries, you have to lay flat for 4 hours. So I'm like completely flat. They wheel me into the NICU, completely flat. And I'm like, there's my baby. She's on CPAP, which is where it's like over the nose, helping breathing with pressure and oxygen. And they wheeled me to my postpartum room. I pumped laying down because I wanted to pump for her in the NICU.
Oh, bless you.
It was wild. I finally, at the 4 hour mark, I was like, okay, Matt, it's been 4 hours. Come leave Chloe for a minute and come help me. Because I had to be able to get up, get into a wheelchair, and then be pushed down to the NICU. Like, I had to get up.
You wanted to go to Chloe.
Right. But like, I had to actually be able to get up.
You
like,
needed someone to help you.
Yeah. And I'm like, they won't help me. You have to help me. And that's normal. Like post C-section even, they're like, once you can get up from the bed into a wheelchair, go. So I did it. Got down to the NICU. Chloe was in the NICU 25 days, which is pretty standard for a 33-weeker. She did amazing. She really didn't have any big setbacks, was a feeder and a grower. Taking her home was incredible. All my kids were like, the baby's here. And they're oblivious, by the way. I did not tell my children. And some people think that that was like wrong of me in case I died. But why would I burden my kids with anxiety that their mom was going to die? That makes no sense. So I didn't tell them. So they were just like, Chloe's born early. And like, now Chloe gets to go home after a month. Like, this is great. And it all worked out. Like, everything is great. We don't know why she's early and we don't know why mom is crying. But like, it's fantastic. And it was. And so now Chloe's 6 months old and she just walked in the door.
We got to see Chloe.
Yes.
When I saw this baby,
amazing.
I was like, this baby is an angel.
She's
just
so
a perfect
sweet.
baby. Look at her.
Hi, Chloe. You have a good walk.
Hi, beautiful baby.
She's
She's so perfect, Alex.
You're such a good baby. You got a little hair on you. There you go. So yes, Chloe is 6 months. She's definitely alive. And so am I. We both made it. She's
Welcome to the show, girly.
she's the sweetest of 8 babies. Like, she just
Hi.
goes with the flow.
Yeah, welcome. We are so glad you're here. We're so happy to see you, girly.
So yeah, so like, why? So crazy, because I look at her and I think about at 5 weeks when they were like, you need to terminate. And I couldn't live with myself with the what if. And like, look at this. Like, she obviously made it. She obviously was a good what if to keep. And she's perfect. We love her. So that is the crazy story. It's wild, right? Like, start to finish. And all that to say, here I am, 6 months post-hysterectomy. Recovery is hard. I'm still recovering. Like, abdominally, like, I still have tenderness from my belly button down, which is not fun. I'll never have a period again. I guess it's a cool perk, kind of. I still have my ovaries. So a lot of people ask this, like, how can you, because I breastfeed. I still have my ovaries. So I still have hormones. Please don't throw up on camera.
She can do whatever she wants.
She can do whatever
She's
she
the
wants. So I can still nurse. I still have hormones. I am at a higher risk of early menopause. I'm a higher risk for like bladder prolapse as well. So there are risks to having a hysterectomy. But those risks, the benefit outweighed it. And that's like, one, she's alive and I'm alive. So we're good to go. I can go to PT and I can, do what I need to do for my body now that we're both alive and well. So we made it.
You made it.
We made it.
Alex, when you woke up after being out for 4 hours during that surgery, they put you under, you weren't sure if you were going to wake up.
Yeah.
What was it like when you woke up? What were you thinking? What was going through your mind or your heart?
I just remember being like shocked because after going through everything that I've gone through in my life, I think I always have like been waiting for the other shoe to drop. And so that probably was a big part of my fear was I was like, and it would be me. I would be the first patient of my doctor who like wouldn't make it. And that would suck for everybody. So waking up was like, the shoe didn't drop. Like, we made it. We made it. Like, how crazy that the other shoe didn't drop. I didn't die. My baby didn't die. She's healthy and happy and like perfect for her adjusted preemie age. She has the best support anyone could ever ask for. She has parents that love her, siblings that literally love her to pieces. She has godparents that love her. She's got other church family that love her. it's crazy that multiple people thought that like she was not worth being here. Are you saying hi?
She's just sharing her opinions about the whole thing.
Yeah.
What did you think about it?
Are you glad?
What did you think?
That we did it?
Oh, yeah. Alex, what's your advice to women and men who may be listening about how to see the poor diagnosis, the fatal diagnosis even, the high-risk pregnancy, the unplanned pregnancy? I mean, you've been through all of it. You've literally been through the IVF pain of, well, I had struggled with infertility, but I know there's these issues with IVF, but I really am tempted to IVF. Like all of the things, you have been through all of it.
Yeah. I think the biggest thing is when you're going through hard stuff, especially in the world of fertility, is not to make quick, rash decisions. We all do it. And we all live through regrets, but some things can't be undone. And so you should take it with great care in your marriage. Or even if it's outside of marriage, take it with great care for the lives at stake. Because there's always more than one life going on here. There's the life that you're growing, or lives, like in my case, twins 3 times, okay? And your life, Chloe Gooding.
She's answering the question.
She is. Yeah, take great care. You should never rush into anything. Never. I think that's the biggest takeaway. And when you are not rushing, are you okay? Are you all right? Are you hungry?
She's like, Mom, this is a long interview. We're almost done, Chloe, girl.
Yeah. I think as Christians, you should have somebody that you're getting biblical advice from. Don't throw up. So a priest, a pastor, there should be somebody that you are saying, hey, I need some biblical counsel.
What do you say to the couples? I've heard this. Biblical counsel that tells them to abort. Biblical counsel that tells them to contracept. I mean, that's the thing, right? We're living in that space today. There's actually denominations. There's actually people that out there are promoting abortion in the name of faith.
I don't know what to tell those people, to be honest. Like, I don't know. To me, I don't think that God wants anybody to take a life of a baby. Like, I just don't think that's the answer. And if you have someone that's supposedly your like pastor, your priest, someone that's giving you biblical shepherding, and they're telling you that, I would say go seek some other opinion, because
keep looking.
The church doesn't teach that. They just don't.
Alex, you're my hero. You are so much when I saw your story, I was like, she's my hero. And now you're really my hero. I mean, I'm even more inspired, and I was extremely inspired before. And I know people listening are really moved by you and encouraged and inspired by you. So thank you. Thank you for being willing to share your story.
Thank you for having me.
Where can people follow you? You also are so beautifully sharing aspects of your life. I know you're very busy, but how can people find you?
I'm on Instagram really only, and I don't have a TikTok, but Growing Goodings, that's it. I hang out over there. That's it. Like, I have a YouTube, but I don't do YouTube. It's too much work for me with 8 kids. So yeah, Instagram, Growing Goodings. That's where you can find me.
Thank you, Alex.
Thank you, Lila.
You're the best. Thank you so much. What a blessing. Thank you, Chloe.
Good job,
You're the
baby.
best. She's like, yeah, nodding.
Just like, let's
bye-bye.
eat.
Love you so much. Thank you both so much.
Thank you.
Thanks so much for listening to this episode of The Lila Rose Show. I cried. I'm guessing many of you did too. Let me know what you all think and share some love for Alex in the comment section here. You can also find her over on Instagram, Growing Goodings. You can follow her story there. Also, thank you so much to everybody who is subscribing to the show. It's helping the show grow by leaps and bounds. Make sure you check out rosereport.supercast.com. And a huge thank you to EWTN, our amazing partner who makes this show possible. A huge thank you to our partner, EWTN, the largest religious broadcaster in the entire world. EWTN is reaching millions of people every single day with the beautiful truth of the gospel. You can watch new episodes of The Lila Rose Show 24 hours before they hit podcast app over at EWTN.com/on-demand.